It's holiday time, and just 2 hours away from London, in the blue waters of the Solent, the Isle of Wight languishes in the sunlight. A magic island, a special kind of holiday destination. You're travelling over the sea, but you're not actually leaving Britain. But you will leave real time behind. A slower, gentler way of life awaits you. Wight's easy to get to, just a few minutes crossing from the mainland, whether you're coming to Yarmouth, Ryde, Fishbourne or Cowes, by ferry, hovercraft or your own private yacht. Ryde first became a popular resort in the early 1800s. Then you would have been carried over the sands by your boatman. Now it's a modern seaside town, but the pier, dating back to 1814, was built to allow travellers a more stately arrival. There's so much to do and so much to see while you're here, but maybe you need to unwind. So first, let's head straight for some really cool fun. Ryde Marina is another recent addition to the seafront, allowing small craft and yachts mooring, and their crews direct access to the town. The harbour's tidal like the sands, which stretch lazily along eastwards from the pier for 6 miles, as far as Puckpool, and out into the blue of the Solent. As well as the sandy beach, there's an indoor swimming pool further along this esplanade, beside the beautiful boating lake. The grand Victorian houses and buildings in the streets and squares make Ryde one of 54 towns in Britain of special architectural interest. But the way to see it best is on foot. Wander. There's no hurry. You'll get used to the island's relaxed way of life. Back down Union Street. Along the waterfront, there's some serious competition going on inside the Victorian Pavilion. Which team will win today? Become an island explorer and let Vectis buses show you round. The full circular tour takes 4 hours. The town of Seaview has hardly altered in half a century, though a wild storm in 1951 claimed its decorative Victorian pier. Great ships come and go, but messing about at the water's edge never changes. In the heart of Wight are some of the prettiest villages in England. Winkle Street at Calbourne is a favourite. Everywhere this landscape offers such colour and variety in just 143 square miles. And right now, everything seems to be in bloom, even the new church post office. Of all the villages, God's Hill's the best known, and the picture postcard church at its centre. Visit the sweet-smelling herb garden, the cider barn, and the old smithy. The model village was created in 1952, a miniature replica of the real God's Hill. Shall we have tea? Warm scones, fresh from the oven, strawberry jam and lashings of thick cream. And afterwards, let's walk through a carpet of bluebells. In the spring, a livelier iris changes on the burnished dove. In the spring, a young man's fancy lightly turns to thoughts of love. And nesting. Spring comes early in Ventnor's 22-acre botanic garden, which is full of beautiful examples of exotic and subtropical plants from around the world. Because of its unusual microclimate, it has extra growing days every season, an all-year-round flower show. Protected by the towering undercliff to the west, Ventnor's moist warm air was once declared the healthiest in Britain. There's a tiny smuggling museum here in the gardens which attracts thousands of visitors. There were always smugglers, for this is a wild part of the coast, but a ship of sail stricken on the rocks would be a godsend for the poor. A disaster brought great benefit to them as the wreckage washed ashore. There were fearsome smugglers at Black Gang, and landslips, and 120 million years ago, dinosaurs. But Black Gang's fantastic theme park's here now just for the sheer fun of it.
You just saved my bacon.
Cross the road to St Catherine's Quay and Black Gang Sawmill. Age-old traditions are still prized on the island. A good day's work, a fine hand-finished product. But it's time to relax, and at Freshwater Bay the sea is sparkling. High up near his monument on Tennyson's Down, which inspired so much of his writing, you too can feel on top of the world. The working watermill at Calbourne dates from the 17th century. Water cascades like lace through the cool, leafy Shanklin chine, a favourite with the Victorians. Visit the colourful Rilston Gardens. Shanklin's old village is a real picture. Shanklin is 100 feet above the sea, and its Victorian and thatched cottage image is very different from Sandown, its twin resort which is at beach level. Between the two towns is a 3-mile curve of golden shore. At Sandown, it's buckets and spades and ice cream and the pier, traditional British seaside. It's early, just a few people on the sand, but as the day gets hotter, those deck chairs by the pier will fill up. Who's for hot salty fish and chips? Maybe we'll catch our own. Now there's time to work up an appetite for a very special dinner out at this superb restaurant in Sandown. We can dance the night away at Bogey's nightclub at Sandown's Wight City. Splash into a new day at one of the island's leisure centres. Anyone for squash? Or tennis? Or windsurfing? Or we're spoiled for choice. Now we're flying high and heading from Sandown Airport to Bembridge to see the island's only remaining windmill. Built in 1700, it was last used in 1913, but its wooden machinery can still be viewed, though its sails no longer turn. For early ships of sail in certain winds, the harbour of Bembridge and St Helens was superior to Portsmouth's famous Spithead, and the spring water was sweet and stored well, and the meat and bread and ale were cheaper. Great fleets would lie at anchor here, taking on provisions. Boat building began on the island in the 12th century, and yachts have raced in the Solent for more than 200 years. Royal patronage from the Prince Regent made cows the height of fashion. The round towers are those of Norris Castle, which Queen Victoria nearly purchased before settling instead on Osborne House. What a wonderful view she would have had of the colourful flotillas which herald the world-famous Cowes Weeks. By day, there's very serious racing. Then, when the sun goes down, evenings of prestigious social gatherings, one of the events of the social calendar, culminating in a vast street party with a kaleidoscope of fireworks. The Victorians began flocking to the island, inspired by their new queen's love of it. Victoria retreated with her family here every summer to the imposing Italian villa Osborne House that Albert designed and rebuilt. It offered a country life, a family home. Later, when her beloved consort died, she fled to the island, unable even to attend his funeral. She withdrew from public life and spent more and more time at Osborne. At 42 she was hardly old. At least, though, here, like her subjects, she could enjoy a private existence and the freedom of the countryside, the sunshine and sea air, and the innovative idea of sea bathing. After she died at Osborne, Edward VII presented the house to the nation. Its astonishing grandeur and clutter of valuables from every part of the old Queen's empire is a monument to the Victorian era. Cromwell imprisoned Charles I at Carisbrooke Castle. In letters to plan escape, the king signed himself J. Was it a mark of royalist sympathy for an ill-fated king that the donkeys who draw water from the well have, ever since, nearly all been given names beginning with J? Josie, Jacob, Jenny, Joseph, Jubilee. Once prisoners worked this wheel, but for the last 300 years the donkeys have walked it, slowly raising one bucket at a time from its depths. How many races do you do a year?
The old bird races probably about 20, and then the young birds, they start to race when the old birds have finished, and they race for 6 or 7 weeks. Not as great a distance, of course. They just race up to, say, 200 miles.
Look at those gleaming feathers. According to the latest research, it's 2 magnetic points in the beak that guide a homing pigeon home, to George Wood, or to the 60,000 other pigeon fanciers in Britain. Newport was founded in 1180. Though all traces of that original town were burned to the ground during a French and Spanish invasion in the 100 Years' War. A new one was built with St James's Square as the marketplace. John Nash designed the classic Guildhall. The clock tower was added later. All the major shops are represented, but there are still narrow lanes. The town quay was, of course, the new port, access to the sea, and a centre point for all island routes, as Coppins Bridge roundabout is nowadays. The original settlement at Newtown was raided by the Danes. Rebuilt as Franchville, the Free Town, its river estuary situation made it a prosperous port in the Middle Ages. But in 1377 flames leapt high into the night sky as the French attacked it and set it alight. A new town was built, but even that has all but disappeared. Just a few houses, a town hall, and a wall plaque mark its former significance. The 5 lakes, or creeks of the river, are now part of a peaceful nature reserve. Thatches, cottage gardens, Norman churches, there's so much to admire at this western end of the island. Yarmouth takes its name from the Yar estuary. There's been a port here since the 12th century. This crossing is the shortest from the mainland. The timber pier dates from 1876, the castle from 1547, King Henry VIII. The harbour is a favourite of yachtsmen, always busy in the summer. The recently renewed bridge over the river leads on west to the rainbow colours of the sands at Allen Bay. They are best viewed after rain, when the colours seem stronger, or from the bay in the afternoon, when the sun shines directly onto the cliffs. Take a boat trip out to see the lighthouse and the Needles Rocks. Or view them from high up on these sheer cliffs, which form part of one of the National Trust's areas of outstanding natural beauty. Actually, nearly half of all the island's 60-mile perimeter is designated as heritage coastline. The pleasure park makes a day of it. Fun, so much to see, so much to do. Snow? It hardly ever does on the island, but in the warm coastal air, winter doesn't settle for long. The landscape of the centre of the island is a patchwork of green meadows and ancient hedgerows stretching across gentle downland. Fields are left fallow in the old tradition, sheep graze on the chalk slopes, and there are huge areas of woodland. Birds and animals flourish, undisturbed by any serious threat from heavy industry or pollution. The air is fresh and sweet. What fun it would be if the island was still crisscrossed with steam train routes. Even into the early 60s you could still travel that way. At the Isle of Wight Steam Railway at Haven Street, the days of steam power are still treasured. When Fred Rolfe began on the farm, he ploughed with a pair of Shire horses.
I've been here all my life, 61 years. Before you came, I thought, I wish you was here. Two foxes playing on that little bank there, there was. And just there were two rabbits sitting out. Mr. Robinson grow corn and silage and that, and that's all really. He just got his second herd over there, look, over there, his second herd, with calves running with him, and he got calves in the barn there.
The farrier is a traditional rural site. There's no smithy now. Ian Turner brings his portable forge with him in his van. Horses are very much a part of this landscape, in the countryside and on show to the public at Brickfields Horse Country. The island is one of the last remaining sanctuaries for the red squirrel. I wonder if we might see one, with fur the colour of bright autumn leaves. In the coastal waters of Wight, for longshoreman Jim Blake, the sea still provides a harvest.
Well, my boys are fishing this. There's no money on the beaches anymore. This holiday business is, beach business is finished. It's never come back. There's, no shortage of people as such. They don't need your requirements. If you could get 25p off everybody that come on the beach, it'd be all right. But, so they're fishing because they can fish when the sun doesn't shine. They fish all the year round when there's no visitors.
Well, holiday ideas and needs change. It's true there's no shortage of people. Tourism provides important income, and some 2.5 million visitors travel to the island every year, so summer's an excuse to celebrate. The island people love the chance to stage a carnival, and every town has one. Let's drink a pint of locally brewed beer in this friendly village pub at Binstead. Pubs are a British tradition, somewhere to enjoy an evening out with friends, a meeting place. There are over 200 species of birds in acres of delightful lakeside gardens at Flamingo Park. And wings of a different kind at Butterfly World and Fountain World.
The only problem is at the moment I've got small fish and I'm fishing for double-figured fish, which is carp. Hopefully we'll get one.
Vic and his dog wait patiently beside the pond for a beautiful mirror carp.
Yes, indeed.
This Cupressus macrocarpa was struck by lightning. Now a carved Bacchus, the god of wine, rises out of its remains at Barton Manor, where the vineyards and lovely gardens are open to the public. Hazley Manor was rescued in the 70s from near collapse. Now its beautiful garden includes a small herd of Vietnamese pot-bellied pigs? The restoration continues, a tribute to the family who undertook to save this lovely old house. Morton Manor produces ambrosial wines from its vineyards on the gentle slopes of Brading Down, and the garden there too is delightful. Brading was the capital of East Wight until the end of the 18th century, and a thriving port before the valley below was reclaimed from the sea. In the little town now is the Lilliput Antique Doll and Toy Museum. These bright little eyes are wistful, perhaps remembering the past and the children who once played with them. Don't be fooled in the Wax Museum by one of the prettiest courtyards in England. Be prepared for excitement. These lovely mosaics and fine glass and pottery bear witness to the Romans' occupation of Wight, or Vectis, as they called it.
This floor is a 4th century mosaic in room 12 of the Brading Roman Villa, and it's one of the finest floors of this period in Britain. What we're doing here is preparing the floor for injection grouting, which is the second stage. At the moment we're injecting water solutions with IMS solutions to flush away the dirt, and then we inject with a soft mortar to support the tesserae, which are detached from the setting bed. We have Medusa in the centre, surrounded by panels of figures with an east wind on either side.
Below Brading Down is the beautiful lowland of the East Yar River. Worldwide conservation is the educational theme of Amazon World at Newchurch, encouraging awareness of rainforests and disappearing habitat. This farm is Britain's largest grower of garlic, a French mountain variety with creamy white flesh and a silvery pink skin. The island's warm climate is perfect for growing it, and juicy corn cobs, all good reasons for the annual summer garlic festival. Wight, the inspiration of artists and writers through the ages. Lo, in the middle of the wood, the folded leaf is wooed from out the bud with wings upon the branch, and there grows green and broad, and takes no care. There is sweet music here that softer falls than petals from blown roses on the grass, or night dews on still waters between walls of shadowy granite in a gleaming pass. Keats wrote that Shanklin was a most beautiful place, with sloping wood and meadow ground reaching round the chine. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Charles Dickens declared that of all his books he liked David Copperfield the best. It was written while he stayed at Bonchurch. And Lewis Carroll sat on the beach steps at Sandown with little Gertrude Chataway, as she remembered it, telling me the most lovely tales that could be imagined. Later he dedicated The Hunting of the Snark to her, and to those golden summer hours and whispers of a summer sea. Wight's the perfect place for a holiday, naturally beautiful in early spring and on warm, wonderful days of summer, or any time of year. It's just a few minutes from the mainland. Don't you just wish you were here? Fairest Isle is the third in the series about the island. Also available our original video, The Beautiful Isle of Wight, and The Isle of Wight, A Closer Look.